What's up, everyone? It's me, Adam Prime, and we are back for another TokuBrew podcast. This week in Toku, or this week in a spider's web, if you know what I mean. With me, as always, the mistress of spiders herself. No, wait, I'm realizing that you don't have anything to do with spiders, do you?
I mean, I like spiders.
Well,
And yet I also have arachnophobia.
Oh, sweet irony.
I'm Stormy. Hi, I'm Sweet Irony. I'm Stormy.
Oh, is that gonna be your wrestler
Also
name?
known as Sweet Irony.
Is that what you're gonna join pro wrestling, and that's what you're gonna be your name?
I would love
Sweet
to have
irony.
I would love to have someone be named Ice Cream, and it's just like, why are you named Ice Cream? It's like, because revenge is a dish best served cold, and revenge is sweet, and I am Ice Cream.
Shit.
We'll give you the whole thing, but you only need the edge.
That's a way to open.
Anyway, so King Oger.
First things first. The obligatory and random Toei Spider-Man discussion.
Oh. Is that why you were bringing up spiders? I was very... Oh, right, because fucking one guy's in here. Why? What about Toei Spider-Man?
Nothing. We've watched more, and I think it's hilarious that you can't describe this show to anyone. Like, what do you describe? How do you describe a person, even if they don't know Spider-Man, and better yet, they don't know anything about Toku? How do you describe that show to them? You know what I mean? Like, space alien Spider-Man with giant robot while fighting space Nazis.
I feel like it's pretty straightforward. I don't know what you're talking about.
Like,
Anyway, speaking of spiders, we've got Spider-Man himself.
we got King Oger.
Mr. Jeremy himself.
We got Jeremy is, like, he's the narrator. I never realized he was the narrator, because I was trying to figure out this whole time who the narrator's been.
You mentioned that last time, I believe.
I know, it's like, he's just been the narrator, I think, this whole time. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, how far in advance did they have this planned? It really does make me wonder.
I mean, they probably had this written, honestly.
Well,
like...
see, it's stuff like that makes me baffled that they hid that detail really well about Jeremy and everything. But then they dropped something like Gira's last name randomly in a book before it was even revealed.
Honestly, I feel like that might have been an intern a little late into the night, after the coffee wore off, you know?
Yeah, like, holy shit, man. Like...
So anyway, so...
This is an episode that we will tell you right now is if you haven't watched it, don't be sitting on your ass here.
Yeah, like, I know that we always kind of be like, oh, you should watch the episode.
That's such an asshole move.
And we always kind of say, oh, watch the episode first. But this is one of those episodes where
Having watched it twice.
You need to watch it twice because you have different feelings once you have the context of the twist at the end.
And there is a twist.
There is a twist at the end of this, and it did actually completely change the viewing experience.
Or at least for us.
And we're going to be going over both experiences of before and after the twist, like, because, again, we watched it twice.
But we'll wait until we get to the twist to start discussing.
Yeah, like, we'll keep it spoiler-free until that point, but at that point, if you haven't watched it and you do have a way of watching it, I would suggest going and doing that, legitimately.
Yeah. And obviously, this is Spider Kumos' debut, because Jeremy is freed. And Johnny Five is alive.
Jeremy is free. I don't remember what that's a reference to. But
Johnny Five is alive.
That's what it was. Yeah, Johnny Five.
Oh, that's my favorite Toku movie. Short Circuit. It's so good. I've been watching that for years. And we literally have Gyra running up, and they're all just asking...
So what's your deal?
Yeah, they're like, and he's just like, oh, do you want to know? And before Yellow could even walk up, he does, like, the classic Spider-Man move of webbing her mouth shut.
Can you imagine if he, like, went over her nose and she just starts panicking because she can't breathe?
Oh my god, yeah. Like, that'd be funny. I just think it was funny, like, the whole scene, she was just trying to take it off.
Yeah, just trying to rip it off.
And it's literally him just asking, he's like, no, what do you think I am?
I've given you clues. Come on, what are your thoughts? Have you figured it out? You should be able to figure it out.
Yeah, he's like, did you read between the lines and everything? And everyone's just like, No, and then he starts reading the legend, and then this is where he kind of gives some information. He said,
but to be fair, he does deny the fact that he's been pulling the strings in secret or whatever it is that
"Yeah,
Gira says.
but that was after this though, where he pretty much was like, read your legend, I wrote it."
Yeah, read your Bible, I wrote it.
Like, and they're just like, "What the fuck? You're kidding!" Like, nobody is believing him. Honestly, everyone's like, "You're full of bullshit," and he's pretty.
Because we've already gone over him, like, you know, being super old and that being.
Like.
Oh wait, no, that is this episode.
No.
I thought. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was discussing.
I thought that was last time.
Like last episode, because we heard Death Nyark say, "You've been hanging out with us millennia.
Yeah.
And you've been playing this whole time," and immediately Rita is just saying, like, "Fuck this! You're going to court."
Yeah, like, here's the things that you've broken. I'm taking you in.
He's also kind of, you just see him kind of bummed out, by the way, when he's like realizing that
there's
none
a
of
lot
them are
of-
getting it.
There's a lot of very good emotions in this, and again, that's one of the things that I very much like paid attention to in both watches, and they make sense
Like,
just so much, even more, you know, once you know. And again, a lot of this, like, the tone that he puts on, maybe it's a little later that we really get to see it, but he feels almost creepy. You know, like, with, like, how,
No,
like, the music
specifically.
cues are and how he acts and the
First watch, it
demeanor.
felt creepy.
Yeah, the demeanor and confidence in him in certain situations just made it really feel like this is someone you need to be scared of.
Yeah, it's like Rita would just kept coming at him with shit, and he was just like, okay. Like, no hesitation, no...
Because, like, everyone has shown such a respect for Rita and, like, such almost a fear for them because, like, they're one of the stronger kings. They're one of the stronger kings.
Yeah,
so
they're the judge.
So everyone kind of has a slight fear for them no matter what. So seeing, like, this guy just not care about it at all, it was just kind of almost unnerving as well.
And literally, Death Nyark stole the other three, the Great Guardian Spirits. They're just in a coma. They need the souls. And they're just like, oh... Like, they're mad about Jeremy and betraying them, and he's like, oh... And they're just like, oh, it doesn't... And, like, Death Nyark's like, it doesn't matter. We have the three great shoe gods. We're gonna be fine. And they're just like, oh... And we hear fucking Bookman say... Well, in the end, he is less than an insect.
Which put me off on the first watch because I'm
like,
like, because they're bugs. So it's like, it was kind of weird to hear such a quote like that. Mm-hmm. But moving on, so we get to his case with Rita.
And Rita is immediately just being like...
I have no patience for this.
Just being like, all right, tell me who... Tell me your gender, your race, your affiliation.
Your name was the first thing, not your gender, Adam.
Whatever. That was actually one of them.
Was it?
Yes, I think it was his
gender. Basically, and like, like, you know, what have you done?
He's like, what? I can't tell you that yet. That would ruin the ending.
Which again, just kind of sounds pompous. Like, we very much feel like he's just like, oh, is he almost like a fourth wall break? Like, he's like, literally like writing the show kind of vibe. Yeah. Again, it makes it feel more of a like an imposing doom.
Yeah,
almost,
exactly. Where it's like,
of like, because we know something is coming. So much gets revealed in the end. I will say, like, you get a whole lot more out of this specific episode than I was expecting. Like, they kind of cut to the chase a bit, which is interesting.
It's both nice, but there's still room to expand upon.
Oh yeah. So it's kind of like interesting, like, that they're even kind of talking about that this early on.
Well, it also kind of gets into why he says he doesn't like confrontation. Like, because I think he said that or something.
Did he?
Or yeah, he said something about not liking conflict or something like that.
Oh, confrontation and conflict are pretty different, but I see what you mean.
But like, he said something along those lines last episode because you remember when he met Reculus, like when he stole the coffin, he said that.
Right. Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, I'm not on the Bucknarks or whatever, and he's pretty much just asks them, he's like, well, what do you guys think I am? Come on, what do you guys think I am? And it's pretty much, he's asking us the questions that we had when we first heard about him.
Yeah.
We're like, what could he be? Like, before, when we found out Spider Kumos was a thing, we listed off what we think he could be. We're like, is he a lost king? Is he a god taking human form? Is he just a straight Bugnark? Like, those were kind of the theories we were leaning on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it was like,
and
what were you gonna do? And it's like that's pretty much what he's asking them to do. And I think that's almost weirdly surreal now that I'm thinking about it.
yeah, he's just like, come on, you can do it. I'm giving you all the information that you need.
So you can figure it out.
I want you to figure it out. And like how he's talking about like, oh, like, you know, there's just like little things that you usually don't pay attention to, but it grabs your attention and you think about it for a long time. Like, for instance, why was Scorpy hidden underneath your kingdom? And everyone's like,
because I placed her there.
Yeah. And it's just like, and I even wrote a little
thing
poem with it. Like, and
yeah,
this whole time that he's describing kind of like his process, essentially, Gira's just kind of sitting there, just like listening, like like paying attention, like he's at
Morphonia is just
like he's at a college lecture.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like
yes.
Yes, I understand this. I'm getting this.
And funny enough, I actually made the joke of like, oh, you see him like taking notes at one point, but funny enough, because it would totally make sense, one of B's dudes is actually listening around the corner, actually taking notes. That was just really funny. Just like, write that down.
Yeah, which is super funny.
Very funny.
Because you can see Rita, like you said, she's like losing her patience, and she's kind of like, what the fuck is this guy? And just immediately tells Morphonia to get ready the Thundercracker. We will see what that is in a minute.
So Regulus and B himself, who wasn't there, are actually talking.
Yeah, and the scene is pretty much... I'm going to sum up what the gist of the scene was, and then we'll take it down. Is literally just, whoever stole Gira's body, bring him to me. He's just like, oh, he's delusional, bring him to me. That's literally what Regulus is doing.
He also wants him to bring Jeremy himself to him.
Like, that's what I'm saying. He's saying, bring Jeremy to him.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he's saying.
Well, you made it sound like he was saying Gira.
No, well, that's not what I meant.
But yeah, he's just like, bring him to me.
And he's immediately... like asking why he's so interested in everything, and he's just kind of
because B's asking questions and everything.
Yeah. And he immediately goes into B how untrusting he is of Regulus, which is anyone shocked?
No.
And then immediately says that he should learn something from his sister
to be a bit more trusting.
And
B like kind of like stiffens up. It's just like, how is she, by the way?
And Regulus literally says, it's like...
gets that little bitch-ass smile.
He's like, that depends. How much of my boot heel you gonna lick, bitch?
And then so many things make sense.
Well, yeah,
of course Regulus had the ultimate blackmail on him. Why the fuck would he be playing into Regulus this much? Well, he's playing every side the way that he is because he has his sister. He's not doing it to like I'll dirty my hands for my people and stuff.
It's
but
that
like,
too.
Yeah, and that's absolutely a part of it. But he had to adapt to be that way to keep his sister safe. Like he could kill her at any fucking moment.
Well, here's my question: is, in what state is his sister in? Because if it's like a medical thing, why isn't she at Yellow's Kingdom? So we can maybe X that off the list.
Is she a prisoner? Is she
exactly? What?
I almost had the feeling of like, was this like a merging of the kingdoms, like a signed bride thing for a minute, but I don't know if that's what they would do.
You never know.
But with Regulus, like, I wouldn't be shocked with literally anything. So
yeah, he's just like, I'll kill my wife.
I'll kill everyone.
Oh shit! I already killed my brother.
And I'll have that,
or at least I think.
And he'll have that stupid smile on his face while he does it.
God,
I want to fucking smack that smile off his face. So
meanwhile,
that's a very punchable face right there.
As much as I'm like, Regulus, you're such a piece of shit, but he also seems like the dude who would take candy from a baby and kick a puppy, and I kind of would watch him for like an hour.
I know, like, it's one of those characters that you love to hate because they're just so fucking awful, but it's entertaining as shit.
You're a despicable human being, and you're my favorite, so shut the fuck up.
It's like, oh, I want to see your downfall.
It's like, I want to see his whole world start crumbling beneath him. I really am waiting for that moment, and I think Jeremy will soon bring it for us, I hope. And then we immediately go to Yamagast's kingdom, and they have pretty much a lie detector. That's what the Thundercracker is. It's a lie detector.
It's like a stupid fucking light-up hat that has a giant, ridiculous, like antenna lightning rod on the top of it. And if you tell a lie, it fucking zaps you into cardiac arrest.
And you better believe Gyra's the one they use it on.
To try it out.
Immediately, Yama's just like, hey, are you a bad guy? And
I'm
Gyra's
an
like,
evil tyrant
yes,
king.
yes, and he immediately gets zapped.
And he just
in
kind
the
of
middle
like
of his
falls.
speech.
He just kind of like falls dead
And
to the
dead.
floor.
And just they take it off his body.
So they loot him.
And then they put it on Jeremy's head. And
He looks so fucking stupid.
yeah, he looks so fucking.
Guys, just if you're just listening, take a look at the screen real quick. Just look at this. Look at that.
Oh, okay. I'm putting it up then.
Yeah, put that up.
Put up him in the stupid hat.
Look at that.
By the way,
stupid
nobody's
hat.
giving any attention to Gira. Like he's just dead
He's just
on the
kinda
ground.
there.
We'll be back. Put a pin in him. Like you could probably put a pin in him and he wouldn't wake up. So
Yeah, I don't think there's anything going on in there anymore.
And they immediately ask him his age, and he's like, 2,000 years ish. And then he kind of gets into revealing a little bit more secrets.
And nothing's
everything.
zapping him.
Yeah, and they're not zapping him, and they're just like, Rita's
well,
like, it's
the first
broken.
question they ask is his name. That's what you usually do for lie detectors. Of like, you ask a simple question to see what it's like when they're telling the truth.
Yeah, and then this is where they ask him his age, and he's like 2,000. And they're immediately being like, oh, it's broken. And then Yama's like little helper immediately tries to test it and just says that he sucks to get like lightning zapped, and everyone's like, oh my god, he's
and
dead.
then it's so funny to have the comparison of them all like fawning over them and be like, oh my gosh, stay with us, and like trying to help them out, and then Gira's just fucking dead. Gira is just fucking dead, like 2 feet away.
Like we have a screenshot, his corpse is just over there as everyone's like, oh my god, he's dead, and he's like Yamcha posing over there.
Basically.
Yeah, like it's so funny. And we immediately then get Jeremy, I think, puts the hat immediately back on.
It just starts going off. And
yeah, well, and just immediately, like, you have Yama saying it's... Because Rita's then saying it's broken or whatever. He's like, oh,
oh, no.
Nothing in technology is faulty.
Yeah, Yama is just like, oh, no, like, this was built by... I forget his name. It was built by someone. Like, it wouldn't be faulty, and then he's just like...
no, he's just saying their kingdom. He's like, in our kingdom, none of our technology's faulty, bitch. Like,
yeah, but I don't remember how it comes up, but they do mention basically who Yama learned everything from.
Well, no, it was Jeremy realizing the stubbornness of him, and he's just like, oh, you're just exactly like Jin. The man
Was it Jin?
Yeah.
Is that their name?
Yeah, Gin.
Oh, Gin.
And he's like, and everyone's just like, who is that? Because he immediately tenses up.
Yeah, and he has like this old CD looking thing.
Yeah, and he immediately reveals to the other that that's the old man who taught him everything about computers. And he's just like, yeah, because I taught him.
Jeremy says like he taught that person.
Yeah, so he taught...
like, I am the reason you're able to control King Oger, because that's the technology that
I gave you the ability to talk to the shoe gods.
Yeah.
What was the first shoe god that they got to have, like, all the specs and everything for? Which one was the first one they got control of? Do you know which one? It was Sploder.
I was about to be like, I don't really remember. I think he said something else, but then he like holds up a little like web design between his fingers of a spider.
He's a Sploder.
Spooder.
And everyone is just being like, what the fuck? So he's telling the truth. And fucking Jeremy, the cocky-ass bastard, just says this thing certainly does appreciate it.
He appreciates honesty.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Gira's dead.
The real question is, what are my motivations? Why am I doing all of this? Because it's the one thing that they're not explaining.
He's literally just being like, come on, somebody guess something. Say something.
Yeah, and then before anyone could really do anything else, Spider-Man himself is whisked away in a flurry of flowers, but it's definitely not Sebastian.
And
someone. Probably a guy in a dress.
Dude, man in French maid outfit.
French man outfit.
And everyone's just like, oh my god, but then you have...
Gira just suddenly comes back to life. And it's just like, who was that? He's like, it was fucking Sebastian, you dumbass. He's like, I'm just like, dude, Yama, he literally just sprang back to life. Give him a minute.
Like, I don't think he saw who did it.
I think he's probably also wondering who he is.
Yeah. And it's so funny that I think Rita gets a call. Do we hear what the call? I don't think we hear what the call is. And she just screams as she starts stomping off.
Yeah. And they bring him to...
As they...
Yeah, but And they bring him to Himino. And she's like, oh, you will address me by queen.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, feisty.
He's like, all right, I can roll.
I can play with this.
And she immediately is like, I think that actually, no, the others immediately walk up on them and just being like, hey, why did you take him? And Sebastian's like, I think we...
Our aesthetics may have given us away.
And Himino immediately just says, I want
Scorpy's soul.
And he's like, I already gave it to you.
It's like in the middle of like the bow on the back of her dress, because of course it is. Also, her hair's different again.
Yeah, she always has to change. And then we get another big reveal.
Oh, this was what the conversation was about. They were asking if they found any records on him.
Yeah. So they actually found evidence of him, and he was a phantom known as the Spider-Man. Not TM. Not TM. So you pretty much find out that they're just accounts and like testimonies that for like he was spotted every few decades and then apparently centuries. So it's like you just show up, deal with people, maybe we'll get into a little bit later, but it's like
it got less frequent and the gaps in time got bigger.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like it goes back to 1,000 years.
Yeah, and that was just the visitations.
Exactly. So it's just kind of really interesting.
And I just had to give out a little shout out of this little swan gondola that apparently they have in there, which is very fitting. The swandola, if you will. And someone says like, "Hey, oh, Queen, they're attacking." And he's going out and he's actually killing the Bugnark as well. He's like, "This is your final clue."
He's like, "This is your final clue." He's like, "You should have everything you need." And then he says something that I think even Saber should have followed through on. Because he says the pen should be mightier than the sword. If nobody knows why I'm frustrated, I'm not getting into it.
Yeah, I feel like that Saber could be a whole ass other conversation if we're going to compare to...
The pen is mightier than the sword. And
if you guys like Saber, that's fine. But it's just a conversation for another day.
And he's literally just being like, have you guys figured it out? I've given you all the information I'm willing to give you. Can you put anything together? And Gira has one of the greatest moments
You
ever.
See him go full big brain. You see like the neurons connecting. He's having all of the memories. His eyes widen. He basically...
You got a blame blast.
Blame blast.
You got a blame blast.
Jimbo. But,
Jimbo.
Gira. Jim Jong Gira. But and it's just like, you see him put all the fucking puzzle pieces together and his eyes wide and he's just like, I have no fucking idea. And he just screams, just what?
And Jeremy
just
like
he just like it. Just completely blue balled and teased, just like I thought you had it.
Like it's like he had such that moment of like it happened. He's like finally, and none of them got it. And he literally is just like he literally just comes out and says it. He starts reading the tale again,
and then he flips to a blank page and it's just like, and this got
there was a sixth hero.
There was a sixth king, but his tail was erased because he broke.
Because
the law, was it? Was that what he said?
He broke. I don't remember if it was a law. I think so, or I think it was either that or he was like banished from history or something.
Yeah, he was banished from history because he like broke the rules or something like that.
And
it goes on to tell a tale.
You wanna do this one? Talk about you wanna open this?
I guess sure. So in this really cool style, I would kind of compare it to like those like shadow puppets that you see where they're kind of like on sticks and it's a lot of like layered images and stuff. It's a story where like there was a king and it was a thing about forbidden love. Neither of them were accepted. It's showing a human and a Bugnark.
So pretty much a king and a Bugnark fell in love.
Yeah, and they fell in love and but neither of their people accepted it. They got kicked out, I believe, and they ran off to what looks like essentially Gokhan, and apparently they bore a child, and like in this they came up to this child and essentially like cursed them and then put the mask on them to hold their powers as a child. And we very obviously this is Jeremy, and by the way, a little part in this was like he was shooting little spider webs into the air and they turned into snowflakes, and it's like, oh, as they froze like in the air. I thought that was really clever and deserved a little shout out.
Yeah, it was
so he's
cute.
had that on since he was a child, and you see his mother cry, and then we actually see a suit of his mother that has like a black veil on, just saying that they were sorry.
Exactly. Like, you can tell she really feels bad. And so he's been wearing that iron mask for about 2,000 years, roughly.
I'd say maybe I'd say maybe 15 at the minimum. Like, because he was a kid, so I'm gonna assume that first 1,000 years was him getting to about this age,
and it's like,
and then like pausing essentially.
Then the thing that makes it extra sad for me, it's like, because like that was their logic of like how they thought they could give their kid a normal life. Because he's like a half human, half Bugnark. Like, this was the way and everything.
He's just like, and he talks about like the fact that like there are so many people that live in the margins of like, of everything. Like, he doesn't belong with humans, he doesn't belong with Bugnark. He's one of those people, but he deserves to be treated like a person. And
he's like, everyone should be equal.
And he takes off his glove that we've even noticed has been particularly a little bulky, and reveals like this very like Ankh like hand, like from O's, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like a monstrous hand, and it looks awesome. And you can tell it's been there the whole time.
Exactly. And it's like he prominently talks with that hand.
And I imagine like there's probably like also a connection with like the symbol that he had on him that was also on Deathnyark.
Which they were pointing out for him to realize that this could be a trickery for them to think that like first, so he can be a mole within them.
Yeah, that was something B had mentioned when he came in on the Swandala.
On the sweet Swandala.
Why did you scroll so far? And he's talking about it, and he's basically going on just like, I just want both sides to be in peace with each other. I want humans and Bugnark to be together.
I want everyone to join hands.
And which is very similar to like, what the others have been wanting. They want peace between all of their kingdoms, but they're
kind of neglected the part that the Bugnark are people too.
Yeah, and which is something that I can give them of like, oh, one of the only reasons they've really been fighting the Bugnark is because they keep attacking their people. Mm-hmm. And like, Jeremy's coming to them and he's talking to them, just looking for Regulus is a piece of shit. So, and he basically is like waiting for their reactions. There's so many emotions on his face, and they're just gorgeous. And they basically all collectively are just like, why the fuck didn't you just say that? Why didn't you lead with that? All of their different versions of like, you do realize we could have avoided like just so much of this if you would have just told us up front that this was your deal.
Which I bet you he's been trying to do this for over like 1,500, for at least 1,000 years.
At least 1,000. That's what he was doing with going off and being a storyteller and telling tales. He was trying to see if people were ready and like seeing if people would accept him, and he kept getting rejected over and over and over again.
We don't know exactly.
That's what I'm guessing at this point.
Exactly. So I bet you that's probably why he was so cryptic, because he's like, maybe the first time he did come out and openly say that, and they immediately chased him out.
Yeah, it's just like, maybe they have to get to know me first. They have to see me for a little bit and see that I'm human before I reveal that I'm more than just that.
Well, yeah, and it's like this whole story is so oddly so sad.
We were so close to this, by the way. Yeah, exactly. I feel like we were right there, like with thinking, oh, maybe he's a Bugnark. I
never thought about a half-breed.
Yeah.
Like, none of us thought about a halfling.
Because by the way,
which they do call him a halfling.
Yeah, and can I just say that like, I feel like this show just panders to me more and more as it goes on, because now there's a forbidden love aspect and a person that's half human, half monster, and has a monster hand. I mean, come the fuck on. It's like I fucking wrote the show.
I'm about to say, I'm really liking this though too.
It's so good.
It's so good. It's like, again, I wasn't expecting it. But it's like, because we were trying to guess on so many different angles, where it's like, that one felt like, as soon as it's said, it feels obvious, but you're also just like, it's still very interesting.
And this is what after, like, now that we know what his deal is, everything feels so different. Because, again, you were expecting it to be something malicious, but he was just looking for acceptance the whole time.
Well, and, like, that's something I really like about this whole, like, character thing, where it's like, he was so cryptic and so whatever. The moment where he was fighting the Bugnark and just saying, this is your final clue, and just having him break where he's just like,
You
why
see him
can
get
you
emotional.
not do that? He's like, why can you not?
I think he's like on the verge of tears at one point.
And it's just like, and then for him to go into his origin pretty much is just like that was his frustration. He's like, fine, I'll tell you.
All right, here's the part where you reject me again. Like, here's the part where it always happens, you know?
Where it's like something like that. You never know. And it's like...
And...
It's just, it was so weirdly obvious and so simple, but I really liked it. And it's like, I like that we got to see his mom. And I'm wondering if it... most of this, even though his story and his mom agreed with his father... But also, I'm wondering if this was something specifically his father wanted to do. Because even when we saw him putting on the mask to put on his face, like, I wonder, one, it's like, so was this his sword or his knife, I guess, originally? Or was this something they made specifically for Jeremy? That's something I'm not really sure about yet.
Which came first?
Exactly. Where it's like, so was this him is this his dad using his powers to seal his powers? And it's like, so it's like he could choose to fight one day if he ever frees himself, I guess.
It also just makes me wonder where the fuck this kingdom was.
Oh, yeah. Did somebody eat it?
It makes me probably black if you think about it, just because that's just such a massive piece of land that I can see there being two kingdoms in it. But also, I just have to say, a lot of, like, I don't know how to describe this. I feel like I described it better to you right after we watched it, so maybe you can help me out. But I don't remember exactly how I described it, but, like, this twist feels earned. Like, it really feels like, because I feel like when shows try to have it where, like, oh, it needs to have a second watch, like they plan ahead for it, it can come across of, like, oh, they kind of just, like, read you false breadcrumbs so that you couldn't figure it out, or they made it extremely obvious, or...
Yeah, it was so obvious you didn't want to believe it.
It's so... like, easy to fuck up, especially because they did it basically all within, like, the span of 1.5 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, but it's like everything felt done correctly. It didn't feel like anything was rushed. It was cryptic, but, like, the hints were there, but, like, it was just enough for you to not to click. And then
hey, if you put it together, good for you.
Yeah, and if you put that together, bra freaking vow. Like, I don't know why we didn't, but it seems seems obvious in retrospect. I'm realizing we didn't give a spoiler warning before we actually mentioned the twist, like we said we would.
You had your warning. And honestly,
sorry.
Honestly, this is far enough out from when the actual episode aired that you should have watched it by then.
But can you think of a better way of explaining it, or do you think that's clear enough? Like, you know what I mean about...
No, I think what you said was clear enough.
I feel like they did it just right.
Well, yeah, exactly. Where
it felt like it was done well. It felt earned.
It held itself back, and honestly, like you said, I was surprised we got as much as we did. But it's like, I felt like it's also very necessary because it's just what we need to do. And then we immediately have Death Yark pop in.
Hold on, like, I was trying to mention this the whole fucking time.
Okay,
but,
what are you saying?
But because, like, you know, he's just been so rejected over and over and over again, the fact that they're finally just like, my God, man, like, why didn't you just say that? Like, that's fine. Even Gira points it out very point blank, just like, you like humans and Bugnark, you want them to get along. That's fine. And he just straight up just like, I love you, which garners very funny reactions of just
and B's just like, me?
Rita straight up ready to fight, like,
Kaguragi's
and
just like, me?
And just, you know, basically him just being surprised of just like, oh my God, it finally happened.
Well, yeah, he's like,
and just
he literally goes into
he's freaking ecstatic and just being like. And, you know, and then everybody's casual about it, and you know, and then, like,
getting ready to leave.
Like, everyone just, like, immediately is just like, oh, okay, this guy's chill, and then they start relaxing around him, and it's just like, these are the modern kings. Finally, again, just finally, these. King Oju's going woke, but.
Well, like,
and then Death Yark shows up. Yeah, I can't believe you tried to skip that whole part.
I guess you're right. That's fair. I shouldn't have skipped that part because it was honestly pretty entertaining.
That was
I love
a great moment.
I love that Rita was just like, I want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
I have MUFON. I gotta go catch up on. Fuck all
Which
of you.
I may or may not have pre-ordered.
More.
There's like 3 options available. There's a small, medium, and large. I had pre-ordered the large one a while ago. I caved in and pre-ordered the other 2.
Horde of MUFONs.
I have some MUFONs. I guess you could say I'm working towards my baker's dozen.
And this is where you say baker's dozen?
Do you know what a baker's dozen is?
Yes, it's an unholy 13.
Do you know why?
Yeah, because it was 1 for the baker, right?
No.
Why is it?
1 for display.
Oh. I thought somebody explained it to me wrong then a long time ago.
Oh, well, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we should look it up. Anyway, Death Nyark shows up.
Yeah, and you can see that Jeremy gives him an opportunity.
He gives him the same chance that he gave them, and I'll admit that's very fair. That is very fair of it. Just like, what are your thoughts on humans and Bugnark living together, essentially? And this is one of the great callbacks to like earlier in the episode. Again, this feels so different on the second watch, and we'll probably go into it more in a little bit.
Let that insect lie from Bookman.
But like, I do want to bring back the line of just like, oh, he's less than a bug, because he goes off and just being like, humans are less than Bugnark. You're part human, therefore you are less than me. I want to see them all burn.
Well, like, it could also be read that he sees them even less than human too.
Yeah, it's just like you're an abomination. You're an abomination of both of them. You're even worse. And then it's just like, well, I guess my side is chosen for me.
Yeah, and he literally pulls out a sword from his wrist.
Oh, I love his monster hand.
And he gets ready to transform again. And he literally says that...
It's funny, instead of royal arms, he says ancient king.
Well, no.
Right?
He's calling Death Nyark an ancient king.
Oh, okay. By the way, I did wonder if there's any relation between him and Death Nyark. Because of, like...
his mom was royalty of some sort?
Yeah, like, maybe his mom was, like, royalty of that, and maybe, like, she either had other siblings, or maybe she had other children because she had to, or... I just wonder if there's some sort of relation between the two of them, because that could be really interesting.
They do have the same symbol, yeah.
Because of that symbol, like them showing it so prominently.
And I think that's something that's going to be very interesting. As much information, and it's a lot of information they gave us in this episode, there's still plenty more to work with.
Yeah, but we got to get into one kick-ass fight.
A very one-sided fight.
Yeah, because when Jeremy wrecks him,
he just destroys him.
By the way, can we just give a second of just appreciating this gorgeous suit?
The suit is spectacular. I love the chains, and I didn't realize that all his like glove cuffs are chains until the vinyl.
I didn't notice that either until you pointed it out on the vinyl too.
And
by the way, we bought all the vinyls.
This is my favorite suit. Like,
do you think that video would be out by now?
Oh, it definitely is going to be out before this.
All right, go and watch his video on all of the King Odra vinyls.
That was a decision. That was a financial
Look, man, we wanted it, and now we have the excuse of, hey, well, you could make a video on it, so
that's fair.
I guess that's a good enough reason.
But to be fair, yeah, like, bar none, like, I like all the other suits, but this is my favorite one. Fuck.
Oh, it's so good. It's almost not fair.
It's not fair, but it's also very, just so good. Like, come on. I love me some Spider-Man.
I've also very much come around on the visor as well, because like sometimes,
I love the visor,
because sometimes I like I don't know how like my suspension of disbelief can sometimes get blown by a bad visor, because every once in a while I'll just be like, how the fuck are they seeing? You know,
yeah.
like it almost kind of like brings me out of the moment a little bit whenever that happens. But I feel like this one still works. Also thematically, of like the spider being on the face, like how the mask was. Like,
yeah,
it just makes a whole lot of sense. It looks really good. Like, no complaints, man. It's just chef's kiss. Mwah. Good shit.
I love that he uses his webs against Death Nyark and just demolishes him. I didn't get a screenshot, but he just shoots him to death.
Yeah.
And because he literally is just like, oh, your venom that you shot earlier, it was real. And then he doesn't die.
I guess.
Well, yeah, he gets away, I guess. And so he literally goes into an ending monologue, and it just ends with him saying, "So the story goes," and then we get
coming up. Oh, sorry.
and that's the episode.
All right, but we got to go back and like just scan through and just like talk about some moments that just feel completely different now that we know that. Like, because a lot of the things that happened, like, that made it feel creepy, or it's just like, oh, this feels like maybe he's evil or playing the game or he's the puppet master, just kind of feels sad.
Exactly.
Of like him just like
him saying
like I
when he
forget.
was seeming fed up the first time, he's like, oh, you guys aren't willing to
I feel
read
like
between the lines.
I also feel like it was after Rita's trial. I think it was after the stupid hat came off. I think it was while they were with Himino, of just when they like weren't quite understanding. There was like this close up on like his face, and you just see like the disappointment, and he like leans forward and closes his eyes. He's just like,
that's right before he reads the book and tells them about his story.
Yeah, and he's just like, there's so much more to it than that, because again, they just think it's just like, oh, who is this guy? Is he here to conquer? Because I think it was because they're like, oh, you want to rule all the kingdoms, you're just like Reculus. That was what they said. Yeah. He's like, and like now that it's like, it makes so much more sense why he had that reaction of just like, I don't want all of the kingdoms like Reculus. I just want to be accepted. I want us
He's like, I want people united.
I want peace, essentially. I want everyone to be united.
He wants the end of episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
No, he doesn't.
Peace!
We saw free!
Oh my god, could you imagine if it ends like that? It's just like the Bugnark, they're all on drums.
He holds up an orb.
Yeah, exactly. He holds up the orb, and he's just like, peace!
But, anyway.
Coming soon to a Star Wars near you.
But, like, again, like, just, like, a lot of the points where he's just like, come on, I'm giving you the information.
Yeah, like, also, like, honestly, him wanting not to spoil the ending is so hilarious. Because he is the narrator.
Because the big question is, what is his motivation? That's what he's been stressing for, like, the past 2 episodes. What's my motivation? And then when Rita asks, what's your motivation? It's like, oh, I want you to figure that out. I don't want to spoil the ending. Like, which legitimately does, like, his motivation does reveal everything else.
Exactly. And it's just so interesting because, like you said, some of the moments either sound sinister or so cold or something else, where it's like, no, it just sounded like somebody who was trying. He's like,
and just feeling disappointed, just like, oh my god, am I just gonna have to keep waiting again?
Exactly. He's like, oh, am I gonna have to wait another 1,000 years?
Or I wonder if he'll talk about, maybe he'll reveal it later, maybe it's just a hunch that I'm having right now. I really wonder if he's going to say that, like, this was his last shot. He's just like, I was going to give up after this. And I was just going to, like, go and hermit, essentially.
Either way.
Like, you know what I mean? Doesn't it kind of feel like that's, like, how he was, like, this was his last shot. This was his last grab at it a little bit?
Maybe, and you might be
Is there nothing else you wanted to, like, look for or talk about?
I would say I feel like you hit them all. Because it's like, I can't...
Everyone thinking he's just being manipulative, but it's like, no, I'm trying to, like... I'm not pulling strings. I'm laying breadcrumbs. Like,
he's like, I just want to see what both sides are going to do, and just know I helped you both because I want you guys to unite. Like, and what will you do with that power?
I also wonder if, like, a future episode will be, like, kind of like...
the
reality of the people that you look up to, like, sometimes not being good people, because we're obviously laying the groundwork that there were so many people that these kings looked up to. There was always someone that they looked up to. Like, we've seen, obviously, Himino's and her parents. Like, we've seen now Blue with, like, this guy that taught him about computers. It makes me wonder if that'll be a thing where, like, we learn about them, and it's like, oh, and these were the people that rejected him.
It's like, yeah, if they play that angle,
because he taught that man how to do computers, but he wasn't accepted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he still left.
I also wonder if he's going to play a part in, like, the assassination with Himino's parents. I imagine,
we're gonna have to see.
I imagine not, like, but it makes me wonder if, like, there's just an involvement in there somehow. Not specifically with him, but, like, just like, oh, maybe did something. Maybe Himino's parents were, like, going to accept him, and, like, that was gonna like start a domino effect to where like what he would want would happen, and they didn't want that to happen. They may probably someone on Reculus's side, if I'm gonna guess, and so they assassinated them before it could go on further.
Who knows? Like, I think we're still gonna have a lot more stuff to find out about that. The Wrath of the Gods kind of thing.
Yeah, I just like I'm surprised no one's talked about it in a while.
Well,
like,
what are you talking about? They talked about the episode before. Everything.
I'm interested, man. I'm interested.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like.
What did you think?
Episode is...
What did you think of the style change for the backstory?
I liked that a lot. I liked it. I liked the cutout.
It was very artsy in a very cute way, and I really liked it.
Like it added to almost me thinking how sad it was, though. Where I was like, oh, that's very sad.
And we know there's a suit of the mom, so I wonder if we'll see more of that. We didn't see the dad.
Yeah, is his mom still alive?
I don't know. Like, is there a reason why he's been alive for so long? Is definitely a question.
Well, no, I think Bugnark just live a long time. Would be my guess.
Probably.
But like, the other thing that I think is very interesting about it all is like we find out in the preview that his god Tarantula, is the god of peace. So
I think you mentioned something about being like a pacifist, like that you were mentioning earlier.
Where it's like, yeah, it's like, and I think he even says he's a pacifist if he has to be. Like
if he has to be.
Well,
unless he has to be, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's very interesting, and I'm wondering what's gonna happen with God Tarantula coming in next episode, because we see Jeremy with all the swords on his back in the preview. So you obviously are gonna see him shit stomp all of them. Like, we know they don't stand a chance.
They're all even covered in webs too.
Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like we know none of them stand a chance. Maybe if Reculus is gonna pull bullshit out of his ass, maybe.
I wonder if that's why. Like, he's trying to get an edge on Reculus or something.
Yeah, he's just like, fuck it, I'm taking all your swords and your shit.
Because Reculus rules through threats, almost.
Oh, yeah.
Just, like, and having just enough in his playing cards that you know that he has in order to keep you where he wants you to.
Honestly, I'm surprised he still doesn't know Gear's he's not dead.
Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting that they kept that.
He actually still thinks he's dead. And you know what? That's good. All right.
Lots of good shit to talk about. So, but I guess it's time to move on.
Any final thoughts on King Oger?
I don't know. I think we pretty much. Oh, there was a couple of little things that we actually forgot to mention. I'm realizing.
Yes. Which was
I forget which episode it was.
But in the cockpit, in Kuwagata's cockpit.
This was when they first turned into legendary King Oger for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. We see all the other guys in their cockpits, in their like little mechanical things that the gods are there, and we've pointed that out before. But in Kuwagata,
every single one of them has the soul above them except for Gira.
Yeah, exactly, except for Kuwagata. So where is Kuwagata's soul? I'm really curious.
It was just kind of interesting that it wasn't there. It
like,
feels
originally
intentional.
I thought they were in the sword. So it's like, no, their souls are in there. So I'm wondering where Kuwagata's is.
And one compliment that I have.
You know what's funny is you can't talk about. If you wanted to bring what you were going to talk about during the episode, you couldn't, because there was none of this kind of acting in it.
So like one of the things that like I've been noticing, and it was just like Adam was the one that noticed the gem missing, the soul. But one of the things that like I've noticed, just because in like the early internet, like 2000 or like
whatever, just
like
a long
2000,
time ago.
yeah, a long time ago. Like I used to watch like a lot of the things that like got me into what I'm into now and what my interests are, because I watched a lot of like cosplay videos, or like people that would put on like skits and cons. And like I'm also much more of a high fantasy person. Like you're more sci-fi. I think we've discussed that a little bit. I'm much more of like a high fantasy person. So I noticed a little detail that the suit actors were doing, like while they're in like their actual like King Oger forms, they have their cape acting nailed. Like they absolutely nail it. And if you have no fucking clue what I'm talking about, I don't even know if this is the correct term, but like they have side capes. And if you've ever seen like, and this is nothing against them, but like an amateur actor, like on his stage in cosplay or something, those things are flapping around all over the fucking place. Like they're going in their faces, it's going over into the wrong thing, they're flipping over, or turning inside out. Like it's really hard to control them. but they actually, like, the way that they fight and move around, they, like, move their arms in a way that catches the cape so it moves with them so they look perfect all the time. And it's such a detail that didn't need to be there, but I appreciate so fucking much. Like, that's such a, like, tiny level of detail. But, like, it's so it would be noticeable if it wasn't there, but it's so fluid and so good that I noticed how good it was. That just shows you how good
the action and choreography of the actual show itself is, because it's like they would have had...
Like, they took that into account.
Exactly, and it flows so nicely and so beautifully.
And I imagine it wouldn't have been... Like, this is probably just, like, a happy coincidence. But, like, the fact that, like, the vinyls, like, again, to bring them up just because... we've been messing around with them recently. Like, the fact that, like, their arm basically molds into that side cape because they act that way. Like, if you're a kid putting them into a pose, it still makes sense in your head subconsciously because that's what it looks like.
I guess, yeah.
You know, like, it's just like, yeah, that makes sense because when they move that arm, that cape goes with that arm. So you're not even it's not a limitation anymore.
And Jeremy has a skirt, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and Jeremy has a skirt and a power stance, so
who truly wins here?
I don't even know. Like, is this something that you guys noticed, or is this something that you guys can appreciate?
Tell us about your thoughts of cape acting in the comments below.
I don't know. Is there anybody out there that, like, did cosplay and LARPing that is just, like, also appreciated how beautifully they did it? Like,
yeah. All right, we gotta get into Geets.
All right, let's do this.
Geets is very interesting this week. We literally pick up where we were at last time. And
my punk Jack is back. My boy is back. He's alive.
He is back, and he is better than ever. So, by the way, this was us getting confirmation that he was killed.
Oh, yeah, his fucking head blew up, apparently.
So when we saw his head blow up, that was him dying.
Yep.
Oh, my God. So, yeah, he got revived, which, by the way, he is from this era. I thought this meant that he was from the future. No, but apparently staff get to come back to life, and people like him get to decide if he gets his memory
sponsors
wiped
and supporters,
yeah.
I believe they said.
And we will get back to that in a little bit.
There's, like, a very, like, running thing that you're going to see very quickly of, like, being able to choose if you get to keep your memories or not, and that's one of the things that he asked Punk Jack. He's just like, I don't know. Why should I care at all? You guys are assholes and you're shitty. It's like, but what if it involved Akio Ace? And he's just like,
Sponsors and their associates can choose to keep their memory.
Oh, associates. All right.
And we literally cut to Buffa back with the farmer.
Sparrow is out of the intro.
Yes. Yes.
Whoop, whoop.
And he literally kicks the shit out of Buffa.
That's how he oh, yeah, the
like,
farmer.
Before the intro comes in, like, it's quite literally...
I thought you skipped ahead, my bad.
Like, he beats the shit out of Buffa, takes his ID course, because he's like, that's my fertilizer.
One of the first times we see someone pinata in the show.
It's been a while.
I'm realizing, if you're new, if you're coming in on this show, you may not know, like, the term that we have for when, like, a Kamen Rider gets hit or knocked down, and they just, like spray...
gimmicks.
They just explode gimmicks. We call it pinataing. They pinata'd ID cores. You know, it's one of the first instances that we really see, which is kind of interesting. So it was kind of cool to see that, and he's picking it up like, oh, fertilizer, and he's just like, you're a fucking walking corpse. You're an abomination.
Well, the funny thing is, he literally tells Buffa, he's like, fuck you, and he's like, yeah, by the way, your powers only work on Kamen Riders, so.
Not Yamato, bitch.
Yeah, so your powers, I can hurt the fuck out of you if I really want to. And so that's pretty much where we go into the intro.
The only real difference is Sparrow's
gone. Thank God.
Woohoo. For now.
And then we immediately have Ace running into Punk Jack.
And Punk Jack, he introduces himself with a fist. Like, he came in swinging. Yeah. Like, that's how he said hello.
Yeah, he's just like, hello.
Like, holy shit, you're alive. He's like, hell yeah, I am.
He's like, yeah, I'm back, bitch.
And he's saying that he wants to actually help Ace with information.
Yeah, he's just like, hey, mother. Pretty much, yeah. He's like, hey, I'm looking into that. Lord Reginald is telling me to research your mom.
I'm realizing he said he got his information from Sumeri.
Yes.
And she wasn't really in this episode. I wonder if she's all right. Like,
she probably has her own job that she has to do.
I wonder, like, what'd you do to Sumeri? Like,
oh,
Surumi. Sorry, I was saying it wrong. Dang.
And then we immediately go to Baroba and Keikara, taking a hit out on Tycoon's sister, and literally just saying, "Hey, if you do this for us," because they both have the vision drivers at the moment.
Mm-hmm. We'll grant you the Jamada's ideal world if you go and murder her.
Yeah, if you give us, we'll bring back all your dead sons. And literally, you have Keikara saying, "For Keiwa to become a true Kamen Rider, he requires a tragedy."
Again, I feel like I think you mentioned it last episode of like I really do feel like maybe we figured out the quote unquote twist a little too early.
Yeah, I think so, because it's like it. So I'm very interested to see what happens, and then we go into a scene between Sarah and Neon, and it's literally just them talking about like, "Hey, what world do you want?" And I don't really. Sarah didn't really say what she wanted. I'm realizing.
I feel like it was a world where she and Keikara probably didn't need to fight or was happy or something. Or I mean Keiwa. Sorry, I heard Kikara earlier. It warped my brain. But but once Sarah learns that Neon's like asking for a world without her, she kind of freaks out a little bit of just like,
what?
Like, just why would you want to do that?
Yeah, exactly. Why would you? Because all of a sudden, like, she's in like
And is this where that one conversation happens?
No, at first it's just.
No, where like she's just like, oh, you'll find someone else.
Yeah, that's where it ends, and that's when she kind of leaves.
Okay, so
like, she's like, hey, I have to sort my feelings out about this.
I have to say, like, this is a good instance to mention something that I realized. Obviously, like, we've had instances of media addressing the issue of parasocial relationships before, and every single time that I've seen it, it's always been like, oh, a fan, like, inserting this, like, relationship that doesn't exist onto somebody, essentially, and them being freaked out or creeped out and them having to learn, oh, yeah, they don't know who I am. That's a person. And, like, that's the lesson that's usually learned. But this is one of the first instances of it kind of being from the opposite end of this feels a lot more like an influencer not understanding why people like them, of just like, oh, you'll find something else to be a fan of, is kind of an insult to some people. Like those creators that you watch religiously, that you've watched for a long time, that you know deeply and you care about.
Long story short, not me.
Oh, I love you and care about you, but I know you in person.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, you know me personally. That don't work.
But you know what I mean? Just like, oh, I've been watching Markiplier since like 2012. So it's like I technically have like this long relationship with this person. That doesn't know me.
It's like how people feel about Arnold Schwarzenegger if they grew up on his movies.
But like exactly, like this is like how like, movie stars and stuff would be like, or even like radio stars. But it's kind of interesting to see it the other direction of just like, no, like they still care about you. Like they would be sad because you wouldn't be in their life. You wouldn't have like given them that influence of something that they enjoyed, something that they, even though it's like they know it's not a two-way relationship, they still enjoy that relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're kind of robbing them of it.
Yeah, it's like.
And I mean, it's I feel like it's, kind of.
And I'm about to say, we'll get to put a pin in that conversation. We'll have to come back.
Yeah,
we will.
But you know what I mean? It's like you almost never see that aspect of it, so I can kind of applaud them for like having that even be a thing. And Tycoon does address this of just like, you don't have to do that. You can just stay with me and my sister.
Well,
like we would love to have you.
Not even just that, where she's just like, what are you gonna do? Where are you going to go once? Even if you
what
do
would you
get
do
your
if
world?
you do get your world?
Yeah, it's like, and she's just like, oh, Kyun said I would go to the future. He's like, why?
No, she's like, oh, Kyun offered it, and he's like, is that what you want? And she's like, I don't know. He's like, well, if you don't know, then stay with us. Like,
yeah, exactly, and that's when he gets into.
We enjoy you there, and and she's like, oh, you don't really actually know me though, like, because she still has, and this is something that you realize about Neon that kind of broke my fucking heart a little bit, of just she kind of the only relationship that she's technically had an interaction with is a fan creator relationship, like, because she didn't really have a relationship with her parents, because those aren't her parents, you know?
Well,
and
they don't see her as...
Yeah, they never saw her as their daughter, so she never felt that
the mom
relationship.
Did,
but... And he's just, and so she's just like, oh,
it was
like,
not a healthy relationship.
Yeah, and so Neon's saying like, oh, you don't really know who I am, kind of feels a lot like she's talking to a Neon TV fan instead of, and he even says just like, no, we were comrades that have fought together, and that means something. We're friends, and
he's like, I would at least say we're friends.
And this kind of breaks her brain a bit of just like, not in like the stupid sense that you see in cartoons or something. Sometimes it's just friend. What does this word mean? Like, I'm just seriously just like,
Peasant.
oh, is that what, like, kind of like the realization of correlating, oh, that's what that word actually means, of like, this is what that means.
Like,
oh my god,
friendship.
This is what a friend is, like, kind of thing. And it's, oh, oof, ow.
And then we get Lord Reginald telling her dad
that
the Time Fire,
my bad,
that they're gonna be leaving soon, and if he wanted to keep his memories or not. And obviously, like every other time we've seen him, he's still not happy.
Yeah, he doesn't answer, which is funny, because I would actually really be interested to see what his answer would be. And he kind of goes a little buffa ace on him. It's just like, no, you came into this world, you fucking play around with it, and you have your fun, and you don't care about the world. Why does it matter? Why does it even matter?
And literally one of the things, because he was like mad that they were leaving, he's like, hey, this is what my boss wants. Like, I can't, studio execs are stepping in. I can't stay shit, man. Like my boss is fucking pissed.
Yeah, and he even goes into like what the meaning of happiness is.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, maybe you can figure out what happiness is.
I figured it out.
He's like, I think I got some of a sense of it. And he was like, oh, it was like a nice
warm bowl of ramen on a cold day or something like that.
Yeah, under an umbrella. And it was just like, you're just like, what the fuck is your... All right, bro. Like, can I say Reginald's a villain? He's just a weird being from the future.
I'd say he's a villain.
Oh,
but
yeah, he's very much a villain.
He's a weirdo, though.
He is a weirdo. I will say he is my favorite of the Vision Driver users, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, my favorite as well.
He's probably the best.
I also feel like his jingles and stuff are the best.
That's fair. And then we immediately go into more Buffa Ace action.
Fucking, I live for it.
Made a hit list.
A hit list.
A list.
But
yeah, he drew out a hit list,
and they're so cute. And
he draws better than me, but he can't draw much better.
It's really cute. And he crosses the sparrow off, and Ace comes in, and his fucking reaction is so goddamn funny, because he like puts down groceries, and he has like the expression of like a proud mom, which is like, oh, what do you have there? Like, he put a fucking drawing on the fridge. Like,
yeah, exactly. He's like, oh, but you forgot one.
And then he goes over and he just draws a spectacular like drawing.
A miraculous picture of Punk Jack's helmet.
And
Buffa's like, holy shit,
so realistic. And then Ace is like, you were just thinking about how realistic it was, weren't you? No.
Shut the fuck up.
And then he makes dinner, and Ace basically kind of calls out his shit. Like,
yeah, he's like, can you stop patronizing and meddling with people? Like, just...
It's obvious what your motivations are, and he's just, like, kind of playing it. Just like, I figured it out. If a writer defeats you, your memory is wiped, but you're returned to your normal life. If you're killed by a Jamato, you're just dead. So what you're doing is you're actually protecting the writers, aren't you? He's like, no, it's not like I like you or anything. Like,
yeah, he's like, fuck you, no.
He's such a tsundere. I can't. It's so amazing.
It's so good. And, like, I love this whole interaction from, like, the cute little drawings and, like, the realistic
and he even he does
like, it kind of lets you get that full raveling of Buffa, because it's like, it made you wonder, because there was, like, also that part in the Jamato arc where you're just like, oh my god, is he just evil? Like,
yeah,
you know
I
mean?
Love what they've done with his
like,
character.
I love
it's
what
spectacular.
they did with Buffa. Like,
it's so good. And again, I guess you could kind of call it back to with everything with Jeremy. Of just like, wow, they set that up really fucking well, and all of it makes sense in retrospect.
Well, yeah, and it's like, because he's gained information along the way. I bet you, like, a lot of it when he was, like, first opening up, it honestly was just, like, I'm gonna kill them all.
Maybe it's kind of like that deep down hit. Like, he wasn't doing it consciously, it's more of a subconscious, but, like, he did want to just help out you know? He just wanted people to, like, be able to go back to their normal life in a way.
Or it's like, yes, it's like, stop chasing after dreams and risking your life and dying at the cost of other people also suffering. Just fucking
live your life.
Live your life.
And gay. I didn't mean to say that. I was trying to say Geets, but I almost said Gates, and it came out as just gay. But coincidence.
What?
But Geets actually does. Ace actually does like call him out a little bit. Just be like, well, what if you saw a rider getting attacked by a Jamato? What would you do? And it's just like, it's not my problem. But
yeah, it's like he's just kind of shifty on, like, I don't fucking care.
And the next round starts, and Sarah was thinking a lot about what Neon said, and I have to say, I'm really happy with their response, because I feel like, again, if I'm putting myself into Sarah's position, and like a creator that I love dearly was trying to do this, I would probably have a very similar reaction to them, of just, you know, just like the initial, like, why the hell would you do that? But the more you think about it, just like, like, Neon apologizes first, because they're just like, I don't mean to hurt you, you know, I don't mean to hurt you or anyone, and Sarah's just like, no, I need to apologize to you, because I have no right to restrict your happiness for my own, was what they said. Like, I can't just, like, make you be unhappy just because I get happiness out of your stuff, essentially.
And she's like,
she was watching a Halloween special dance thing on her phone, by the way.
Earlier, right before the round started. And it's like, it kind of makes you wonder. And it's like, you even see her say sorry as she watched it and everything. And it's like...
It was so sweet and so wholesome.
And it's almost like, it's so funny, because now it just feels like she's like... And also, like... I forget what happens. No, it happens later in a little bit. And like,
and I have to say, it was really sweet, because they even went as far as like, and even if I want you to win, and if you win and I don't remember, then it's okay, because I'm still gonna be your fan, because I'm always rooting for you no matter what. Yeah. And they have just like the sweetest hug. Like, I haven't seen such a genuine smile out of Neon, maybe even the actress, for a while. It just felt needed. Yeah. It was just really sweet.
And then we immediately get her getting ambushed by the farmer.
And getting her ass handed to her.
Yeah, he's like literally saying, you're gonna die for my beloved sons. Well, you have Keiwa just doing the... what do I do? And it's just like, God damn it, dude, your sister's dying.
And I would love... This is like... And we do see Ace and...
Buffa washing on the cliffside.
Watching. And this is a point where I really just kind of noticed something that I pointed out to you.
Are you gonna... Okay.
Yeah. So, I've noticed something that they've been doing this whole time, because if you notice, Buffa's like standing on a fucking rock, first of all, in this shot. And I noticed, like, because I had pointed it out to you in other episodes, not on the podcast, of just like, oh, would you look at that? They actually had... They did forced perspective to make them look the same height, because Buffa's actor is shorter than Ace's actor, because Ace's actor is a fucking giant. And
which is funny, because again, the suit actors might be reversed.
And the suit actors are either the same height or Buffa's a little bit taller. And, you know, this is kind of something that they use, like, in both animated stuff and, like I've even, funny enough, I've actually heard about this in, like, political debates, like, in real life as well, of, like, if someone is shorter than the other person, they'll have them stand on something so that they're the same height, so that they have, like, the same level as, like, authority and respect.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's just, like, you know, you automatically see someone that's taller like that sometimes. I don't know why. I think it might be a subconscious monkey brain thing. But sometimes it's so fucking obvious that they are trying so hard to get them to look the same height, despite the fact that there's such a huge difference between the two. There's another moment that I'll mention later, but it's really funny once you start to really notice it.
I like how you were like,
I also feel like...
milk crate.
Well, not like... maybe. But, I think there also might be an aspect of, getting the drivers to be at about the same level for, like, helping with animating, like, the transformation stuff, too.
Yeah, which, by the way, I'm realizing, you know who'd have very similar feelings about having to do this with one of their co-stars? James Marsden in the X-Men movies, because he's, like, not that tall, and Hugh Jackman's tall as shit. So it's like they had to make him a certain rig for a forced perspective thing so he didn't look so short next to Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, if we were to ever watch Geets again, I'd keep an eye out for this, because, like, now that I've, like, noticed it, it's hilarious to me.
Yeah, and we immediately, like I said, they get ambushed. He's just being like, oh, you're gonna die for my sons.
And finally it
Oh
happens.
God, I'm dying. Oh,
Anyway, so we finally get to the point of, like, Tycoon's like, ah, shit, I gotta do this. So he transforms and...
after going,
and, like, hiding bad. But, and he transforms and he saves his sister.
and she's like, what the fuck?
And like, they get away. And Ace is just... Oh, not Ace. And she's just... Sarah is just like, so why the fuck are you a writer right now, anyway? And he's like, I wanted to, like...
I want to make sure you
protect
didn't die.
you.
And she's like, but that's why I did it for you.
Dumbass! Like, and...
You fool!
But, like, they immediately go back into just, like... Well, I guess this is a thing now, might as well not dwell on it kind of thing, which is cool to see. And, you know, Sarah just, like, being like, I want Neon to win. I want her to be happy, so
well, yeah,
I'm gonna fight for my
she's
things
like, we
happy.
have to do it. She's
Happiness.
like, we have to do it for the three of us. Where it's like, wow, shit, dude. I know we already made the jokes of, like, we've made so many jokes between Tycoon and the Neon.
Honestly,
It's
like, I
kinda
really
funny.
would
It's
be
gonna
fine if
full-
they ended up
If
together.
it comes full loop, I'm gonna be like, it's so funny. Because how many different times have we, like, made, like, sex jokes between the two of them? Like,
Probably plenty.
Yeah, you know, I know there was one where it was just like where it's like, when do you think they told her? I'm like, I don't know. Well, they're fucking, I don't know. Something like that.
But anyway, we cut back to Ace and Buffa, and they're
Yeah.
actually handling the fight.
And like, yeah, literally Geese just pops up and is just like, what's up? And like, the farmer's like, well, I have to kill you, but I really don't have time for it right now.
And Buffa, like, and like,
Buffa hadn't
Buffa
shown
gives
up
some
yet.
reason of just like, well, I can't just let Jamato go unchecked or something like that. And
Well,
Ace, like, calls him out just
That's
like...
what Ace says, actually. He can't let the Jamato go in.
Oh, I don't remember what Buffa said. I'm trying to fucking remember. Like, but he said something of basically, like, dodging the question of, like, oh, I'm actually a bad guy. Like, I'm definitely not a good guy. And Ace is just like, we know you're good. He's like, shut the fuck up.
He's like, shut up.
And this
Don't
is,
talk to me.
I don't think we have a screenshot of it, sadly, but, like, we get another instance of, like, when they transform. Of, like, you see Ace just fucking, like, first of all, knees bent, hunched over, like, he's going full goblin mode again to
Also,
be
his
the
pants
same
are weird.
to be the same height as Buffa, and I laughed so hard seeing it because he's just so hunched over.
Yeah. With his plant pants.
Yeah. He has green shoes to go with it, but
yeah, no, so we
they wreck
immediately get
shit.
into this really cool fight, and it's
such a good fight.
It's the Geese Buffa team up, man. It's great, and he's literally you just see them wreck the shit out of the fucking farmer.
And there's one particular moment, like, there's one specific shot that obviously we'll have a screenshot of. It's just a beautiful shot of them, like, sliding off the edge of a cliff. But there's another point where, because Geets is aware that Buffa is technically invulnerable to everything that he does, he uses him as, like, a backboard. He, like, kicks him in the chest so he could, like, twist and use the momentum to, like, kick the gardener in the face. And he's just like, what the fuck? Why did you hit me? And he's just like, you're invulnerable, remember?
He's like, wait, you're the strongest, right? Almost like teasing him. And then he literally shoots him.
It just shoots him, like, point blank, and it doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
He's like, see?
He's like, see, it doesn't hurt. Shut the fuck up.
And as, like, you know, they're, like, starting to wreck Buffa a little bit.
Yeah. He changes forms.
It's charging towards him in, like, the eel form or whatever.
And his
he
head.
changes into Monstar, which looks surprisingly really good.
It looks really good.
It actually, like...
It does keep the cape.
Thank God. And then he, like, uses Monstar and just punches it right in the kisser.
Yeah,
like,
and they kill the farmer.
The farmer
dies this episode. He has such one of the really saddest death.
He stole the ID core sack.
Yeah.
And
Well, Buffa stole the ID course.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
but
which, don't worry, he shoved more in his pants.
Yeah, the gardener actually, like, stowed a couple away, and one of them is Nudge Sparrow.
Sadly.
And just like the Jamato, my sons, they will live. And weirdly, we get, like, a very dramatic, sad death scene from him.
And it's like the Jamato surrounding him.
And crying and, like, and wailing as they're, like, holding him. And there's fucking rose petals and shit and a white boy.
So over dramatic.
It's so over the top and in such a good way. And Buffa's just kind of watching, like,
Baroba.
What did I say?
You said Buffa.
Oh, I meant Baroba. Thank you. I'd just be like, well, that's useless. Anyway, I found a thing.
She's like, oh, sweet, my favorite dweebs.
Of course. Of course it's fucking Sparrow, because we can't get rid of the fucker.
Well, but yeah, I can't believe it. I can't believe the farmer's dead.
Yeah, like, I'm actually surprised at it. Very
Rip.
interesting, though.
Rip.
And Zine is there because earlier we had seen
Lord Reginald.
Lord Reginald.
I can see why you could get the name Lord Reginald mixed up with
Lord Reculus, but
yeah.
Because he was asking Zine to basically be a negotiator between the two to handle these insane people.
Yeah, and he wanted more info on his mom.
Yeah,
on Keats' mom.
And like they're having a conversation, and he's just like, "Hey, look, the grand end, which is essentially like when they're gonna leave and everything's gonna reset, is on this is gonna happen." He's like, "Ah, things are getting interesting." And
he's probably like,
and Baroa was just like, whatever, I'll just savor all this misfortune until the very end. But he's like, oh, and then he's like, oh, do you really want to mess up or piss off whatever is fucking Saru,
cult leader,
the cult leader guy? And it's just like, and then we learned something very interesting that's now very much a new thing in play.
Yeah, it's like if you don't pass through their gate that they get to when the grand end starts, will get destroyed. Like, so I guess future beings have a certain thing maybe on their ship or whatever they do to time travel that allows them to stay in this era.
Something
because apparently if they leave, they die.
I wonder if
not even die, they're destroyed.
I wonder if that'll even end up being a thing of just like they need to end everything. They need to end the pre, so they stay, like they force probably Baroba to stay behind, and they all stay behind and just kind of evaporate to try and end the Grand Prix, the Desire Grand Prix forever. Or at least maybe kick Buffa out at the last second and she vaporizes. We'll have to see.
But yeah, no, and the rule this week was literally the audience use a fourth dimensional gate to travel through eras of time. And that's it.
Yeah, like, I don't have a whole lot of, like, backtracking with this one like how I had the other.
No, this was just a great episode.
That fight was so good. With the team up and...
Yeah, and it's like, I liked all the stuff with Neon and Sarah. Which, again, I like that Sarah's a character because it's like...
They've been adding a whole lot to her, and none of it feels, like, out of place.
Well, yeah, no, it's like she's been there the whole time, and they've only ever used her when she's needed. You know what I mean?
Which I can respect. Yeah, you don't want to force a character to be important for no reason.
Well, exactly. Where it's like... So it's like they always had an excuse of why they're not...
Oh, nothing. Go ahead.
And it's just very interesting how they played it. Like you said, they went about like parasocial relationships and a lot different things that we haven't seen media really do.
It's the same lesson, but a different perspective on it.
Exactly. It's one of those things that I think was really well handled. And again, like the relationship between Neon and Keiwa is being really well handled.
I will be so shocked if like her like original true love thing wasn't Keiwa, because Ace like
maybe
when it comes to like the different people that she's quote unquote like been matched with, like, you know,
Surely
Ace,
the only one who did that one.
I know, but like Ace, no. I don't know. It just doesn't fit for me.
Doesn't work.
Her with Kyun, it's like I can see it, but I see it being almost more of like a tragedy kind of thing in the end. I feel like her and Keiwa just work. Like that just
they've been joking about it the whole time.
I feel like that's kind of
since episode 1.
I feel like that's what they were going for. And now it's like, okay, we joked about it, and then we forgot about it for a while, and now we're kind of taking it serious and having callbacks to that joking era. Is kind of what I imagine we'll start to see a little more as we go on. And I wonder how. I can't tell how this is gonna end. I honestly can't tell.
And we're getting Boost Mark 3 next episode.
Yeah, we're getting really close to the end of this show. Like, I don't think I've ever really been this up in the air when it comes to an ending before. Like, I feel like there's so many possibilities of what they could do right now.
Well, yeah, and we're still also a decent ways away. It's like the ending is in sight, but we still have until like near September. So,
yeah, so it's like...
But it's like, that means...
Wait, is it ending in September?
It ends in August.
Oh, okay, cool.
Remember, New Riders always happen in September.
Oh, okay, I see.
Roughly, I should say. Unless they decide to change it again. But, it's very interesting, and yeah, no, there's just not a whole lot to talk about. It's just the Buffa stuff was great. The stuff between, like, it just was really good stuff.
Yeah, unless you have something else you want to say, I wanted to bring something up.
No, you can go ahead.
So one of the things that I noticed while we were talking, I feel like the Geats and Buffa fights that we've been complimenting so much, it's almost kind of a wonder that we can keep saying that they're good because I've noticed, like, maybe not necessarily every single episode, but every single time there is a fight with Geets and Buffa, they kind of feel structured about the same. Of just like, oh, them doing like certain things, like how it's filmed, like, you know, certain shots that they get and certain moves. Like, oh, you always kind of have like that one screenshot that we have. Like, you always have like a very like lit up cinematic thing of like, you know, them kind of doing something
charged up,
like to each other or with each other kind of thing, like, you know, like that cinematic like wow screenshot moment. It feels very formulaic, but like I'm not tired of it.
Well, it's
like I don't have any like,
it's part of the style.
Like it's kind of the same every time, but I'm not bored of it. It's still good every single time and I enjoy it every single time, which I feel is like kind of like wow, mad props. You know what I mean? Like I didn't.
Well, yeah, it's also.
I only just kind of now noticed it, and I'm at the end of the fucking show.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with you about that.
I feel like if you were to watch these fights back to back, you would probably see it. It's only because I was really thinking of past fights that I was able to kind of notice it, because I was also looking at it while I was thinking about it.
Well, the only reason I say that is like I feel like you're right, and it does hit like beats. But it's like they always make sure to change up like the shots or how they're gonna do
it's not
that
the same.
dynamic. Yeah.
That's probably why I haven't gotten tired of it, is because it's not the same fight every time, but it's just like certain moments and certain beats have been there periodically, very like consistently, and yet I'm not bored of it.
Oh no, and it's very well done.
Yeah, that was just something I kind of wanted to mention.
By the way, I guess that's it.
I don't really quite have anything else to say other than just like I'm surprised Buffa using Monstar looks that good.
That looks really
pleasantly
good.
Surprised. Finally, Monstar has a suit that it looks good with. Like,
you saying it doesn't look good with Nudge Sparrow?
No.
Nothing
looks good. It looks like he has a fucking old pigskin football cap for a head.
That's so true though.
Like from what, the 20s when they didn't even have like shoulder pads.
Yeah. All right, do you want to say your favorite moment of this week?
Oh, fucking... That's hard, man. I mean, like, I feel like King Oger was a little bit better this week just because...
Oh, no, King Oger's definitely the better episode this week.
I watched that episode twice, but it felt like I watched two completely different episodes. Like, it truly felt like something that you could and should watch twice just because it's such a different experience each time. And... I just like, and like the character is great. The character is great. The backstory is great. It looks great. I can't wait to see what it goes from the future. Like, I'm glad that this is kind of near the beginning, so I get to like simmer in this for a long time. Maybe I'm just traumatized from Dawn Brothers. I don't know. But
here's the thing I'll say though, because I'll say it mostly comes about the amount of times we were talking about. Because I think like a good chunk of this episode is going to be King Oger.
Probably.
Because there's so much to unpack. But again, Geets is ramping up towards its end. So a lot of our conversations are kind of just are going to wind down a lot more until like big moments happen. Like, and this episode was just kind of reeling in what they did last episode. And I think they did it spectacularly. But like King Oger just opened this whole new can of worms that's really fucking cool with Jeremy. And I really want to see more. And I think that's why. Where it's like, and honestly, my favorite moment for it all, though, would have to be, like, I don't know, it might be the fucking a fake out brain blast moment.
That was
got me to
really
laugh
funny.
So hard.
We had to go back and watch that a few times. Yeah, that was really funny.
It's like from like how Gira's just like, I did it. Because I don't know. And then him being frustrated of being like, God fucking damn it.
Just so much good acting in this. And just like all the facial expressions and the emotions that they were able to portray. Like just good stuff all around. I love the gold leaf background of like the whole thing that he's doing while he's telling the tale. I love the designs of the mom. Like, I'm curious to see more. Just like, I want more.
It's good that we're only on episode 12 or 13.
God, it doesn't feel like it, but I just hope it keeps this. I hope it keeps this going.
Yeah, no. So, what do you guys think of Spider Kumos? And of the suit and everything. What'd you guys think of Geats this week? Are you excited for power-ups to be coming up?
Yeah, definitely let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling right now, because this is getting really good.
Yeah, tell us down in the comments.
Thank you so much if you listen to this long.
Yeah, this is a long one. But mostly because King Oger.
Yeah, probably because King Oger.
So, until next week.
Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.